Hello, Viola family. Tallā Rouge here again, and we're super thrilled to be the artist in residence for the American Viola Society for the months of March and April. Today we're going to take a minute to dive into a topic that Aria and myself explore pretty often in our rehearsals: movement in performance. We'll talk a bit about our personal experience and then offer a few tips we've found to help us explore moving authentically.
In quartet playing, the violist is the only violist there, but in our duo, we're constantly forced to examine the similarities and the differences between our unique styles of playing. And one major difference is the way we move.
In my personal journey as a musician, I feel music very loudly in my body, and I love to dance around while performing. This has been a really wonderful gift as I naturally take up a lot of space on stage, but I've really struggled to find stillness in my body while performing, and I feel like this sometimes hinders my ability to be artistically accurate at the highest level.
And in my experience, I tend to be more still and feel the music and rhythm internally rather than externally. I sometimes struggle with moving authentically because making a huge gesture doesn't always feel super natural to me. Although I think it's important to have a balance of both moving and stillness, because part of our job when performing is to sometimes be an actor.
Now, we joke sometimes that I'm the duo's acrobatic archer on horseback, and Aria is the focused sharpshooter. When it comes down to it, neurologically, we've just developed really different spatial understandings of how we move in space and where our instruments are in relation to us in space. So we strongly believe that there are great musical and technical benefits to both styles of movement and performance. So here are a few tips we've learned in our time together that might help you explore movement in a different way.
So this practice tip applies to those of you out there who might be working to express themselves more openly on stage, or those of you who might have received some feedback saying that they need to take up more space while performing. First, I want you to take a minute and record a video of yourself playing anything you'd like, and while recording, try and focus on presenting a performance that feels really natural and comfortable for you. Then, take a moment to watch this clip back and see what you notice. Now, record the same passage again, but this time, over-exaggerate your movements to where it feels really uncomfortable and engage your entire body doing so, all the way down to your toes. This can include vibrato and bow movement, but this could also include cueing, or how you leave the string with your bow, or the engagement of full body movement in general. Now rewatch this video without sound and ask yourself, what did I notice? And reflect on how you look externally on the video, but also how you felt internally when you were moving this way while playing. If you're anything like me, you might be surprised to find that even if it felt awful, which it probably did, the movements were not as large as they might have felt. If you practice this regularly, one becomes more able to develop a palette of external movements that help an audience better connect with the beautiful emotions that you feel internally.
Thanks for sharing that, Aria. It's so fun how we have such unique perspectives and experiences with music. My tip is for those of you who may have received feedback before about moving too much, or about having movements that don't serve the music or hinder your technical ability. I like to imagine the relationship between the bow and the contact point as kind of our archery range. Now, contact point, or where the bow is in relation to the string, is our target, and the bow is, of course, the arrow. Now, when we move our target, or our contact point, it's really difficult to be accurate. So there are two major motions that I find hinder accuracy the most. One is dropping our shelf, and two is swiveling our instrument too far in either direction. So let's start while looking at our shelf. I like to imagine that the instrument's natural state lives at a 90-degree angle to my spine. Any motion up or down must be accounted for in the bow. So look what happens to the bow when I drop my viola below 90 degrees. Now look what happens when I lift my viola above 90 degrees. Without moving my bow arm, you can see that when swiveling the viola, there are dramatic changes to the 90-degree angle I try and maintain with the fingerboard. We can account for this change by hyperextending our arm, but unless this motion is integrated into our practice, we end up with a crooked bow. I really love moving while I play, but as you can see from a few of these pointers, it's really important to be very intentional with extraneous movements. Take time in your practice this week to explore in a mirror how these motions can both help and hinder your personal performance. Ask yourself, are these movements helping or are these movements hurting? But definitely trust your ear. Sometimes a movement does make you sound better, but you need to explore it in a way that allows for technical accuracy and precision.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you all next week when we look at some tips on technique.
See y'all soon!